Wenn wir ja von den ausländischen Mächten und ihren Interessen reden, dann ist die Frage hier, wieso? Wir wissen ja, die USA zum Beispiel haben ihre Interessen da, Israel hat ihre Interessen, aber Europa, wieso nimmt Europa keine klare Stellung? Europa, die ja behauptet, die Mutter, die europäischen Länder, ja die Mütter der Demokratie und der Menschenrechte, warum ziehen sie nicht eine klare Stellung und sagen klar, wie sie das überhaupt definieren? Europa التي تدعي أنها الديمقراطية وأنها مدافعة عن الديمقراطية وحقوق الإنسان ليست دائما أو ليست في كثير من المواقف على نفس الموقف مع الولايات المتحدة. الولايات المتحدة نتفهم مطامعها في المنطقة، ولكن بماذا تفسر موقف أوروبا من هذا المأزق وعدم اتخاذها موقفا أو تعريفا واضحا مما حدث في مصر؟
Thank you for asking this very important question. And since I am in Europe here, it is really important to address it. I don't have an answer. I really don't know why is Europe standing silent on the oppression and the killings that is going on. There is no justification. Some try to explain it that it is Europe's fear of Islamic democracy. But that is not the reason. Democracy is good for everyone. And Europe should not fear, because once we are fearful, we cannot understand. Europe needs to engage Islamic democracy and the Muslim democrats. Europe needs to work together so that we can fight extremism and fight violence together. Europe's interest is in stability of Egypt. If Egypt is destabilized, we all lose. Egyptians lose, Europeans lose, Americans lose, and all the regional power lose. People are angry in Egypt because they're killed, they're wounded, and they're imprisoned. If Europe remains silent, that is betrayal to the European tradition of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. I still hope, because it is not all of Europe, it's only certain sections in Europe. But there are other sections in Europe that are not happy. And Europe now is changing its position. And in this moment, I would like to send a specific word to the Egyptian community and to the friends of Egypt. To the Egyptian community, I say you need to be active. You need to be able to talk to your senators, your members of parliament. You need to be able to talk to your media. You need to be able to share what is going on in Egypt with the other, because you don't have media representation, but you are here. And that's your power. Get to know other people. Build the bridges of understanding with the larger community you live in, regardless where you live. Get to know people and explain to them the situation. For the friends of Egypt, I tell them that because you're friends of Egypt, Egypt needs your support too. And all the support that Egypt needs. And the support, not to support one party against another, but to support the process, to support the principle of democracy, of human rights, and of the rule of law, because that is a win-win situation. Everyone wins from freedom, democracy, and the rule of law. I am still optimistic. I have not lost hope on Europe. There are still very strong. I just came yesterday from Brussels, and I met with people. And today, in fact, when I came, I met with a professor here, Professor Imhoff, and the words I heard from him are very encouraging indeed. Europeans need to know what's going on. And once Europeans have the right information, they will make the right decision. And this is your responsibility, Egyptians living here, is to get in touch with Europeans wherever you are and tell them exactly. Do not exaggerate, but do not fear to share what is happening in Egypt with everyone you can. And I think it is step by step, European position is changing. I see some changes in Belgium. I am going to have a hearing in the Belgian parliament in a couple of weeks from now. I see some changes in Germany. I see some changes in the European Union itself. I am a founding member of Parliamentarians Against the Coup. And when we visited the European Parliament, there are European parliaments who are against the coup and who state clearly that they're not going to support. The more work we do in this, I think the better Europeans will understand, and most likely I expect Europeans to be able to change their position once they get the right information.
Thank you. So, dann stelle ich vielleicht eine letzte Frage, dass wir die Möglichkeit für Fragen von Ihrer Seite geben können. Er hat gerade von Erwartungen gesprochen und deshalb die Frage an ihn, was erwarten Sie selber für die Entwicklung in Ägypten?
Thank you. Yeah. I see 4 scenarios. The first scenario is the police state and the military keep oppressing the Egyptian people. And this scenario is a lose-lose. Everyone loses. Egyptians lose the most, but there will not be stability in the country. There will not be economic development because oppression does not lead to development. And human rights record will be broken. There will not be democracy. There will not be the rule of law. That is the worst scenario, is the existing situation continues as is. That the military and the police is going to stay in power. That's number 1 scenario. Number 2 scenario is there will be stalemate. The situation will be frozen. The people are in the streets and the Coup authority cannot govern. Because until today, the Coup authority is not able to govern Egypt. Because people are not happy with kidnapping a president, cancelling a constitution, and dissolving a parliament, the upper house of the parliament. That second scenario will lead to a failed state. And failed state may destabilize the country. And if the country is destabilized, for you, I think you're all familiar with the Egyptian geography. There is Sinai, and there are already violent elements in Sinai. When people are angry, when people are being killed, people will resort to any means to protect. We don't approve of this, but this is a natural process. This happened many places. It happened in 1992 in Algeria. It just happened 3 years ago in Syria, because Syrians went to the streets to protest peacefully dictatorship of the Assad regime. And the Assad regime started killing them. People had to defend themselves. It's human necessity. So, and then you have Libya, and the weapons are available in Libya. In Libya, there is the Sudan close by. Then Somalia is close by. So we're talking about a scenario of war of all against all. A scenario that is very bad for Egyptians and very bad for almost everyone. A third scenario is Egyptians may end up with what I call Mubarak-style democracy. In name, you have a democracy, but in reality, you have no democracy. You remember Egyptians, the 99.99%. You remember President Mubarak got about 97% before he was removed from office. This Mubarak-style democracy is a police-style democracy. First, they don't allow anyone to run for election. Second, if you succeed to run, they will try to rig the election so that you don't win. And imagine that you succeed in bringing so many people to the voting and you win the election, they will declare you loser. That Mubarak-style democracy is a recipe for another revolution. So the first three scenarios are all lose-lose scenarios. So is there a positive scenario? Yes. And I call it win-win scenario. Is democracy, real democracy, is to win in Egypt. How can this happen? The political forces, and I here appeal to all political forces in Egypt, to the Islamists, to the liberals, to the leftists, to the Copts, Christians, to everyone, that Egypt belongs to all, to men and women, old and young, that Egypt has been suffering for decades. Egypt does not have anything that is functioning. Hospitals are in bad shape. Schools are in bad shape. You cannot do anything in Egypt under a police state unless you bribe, you pay bribes. Sometimes the more for more and the less for less. If you pay more, you can get more. And this means there is no social justice. Bringing back democracy to Egypt is the only win-win situation. The army has to stay out of politics. Army soldiers are trained to kill. They're not trained to negotiate. They're not trained to discuss and compromise. They're trained to kill, and killing in politics is terrorism. So all the political forces need to understand and rise up to the moment and say, Egypt's interest is more important than my interest. And if Egyptians can come together and start talking to the military saying, hey, we need a national unity government. This national unity government can be made from all political forces, everyone. And then they call for election, parliamentary election. Then the Egyptian people go to the polling station as they've been doing for the past 3 years. Then they elect the parliament. The parliament forms the government. Then a new government comes representing the people. And that new government calls for presidential election so that we have a president, a new president. And life goes on, and Egyptians need to do the best they can so that they can help their own country and rebuild. The country needs a lot of work. Thank you.
So, dann denke ich, den einen oder anderen Punkt könnten wir noch bei Ihren Fragen noch decken. Und die Diskussion ist eröffnet. Die Fragen erwarten wir von Ihnen. Ja.
Dear Deputy, I'm very happy that you are here because I made what you proposed. I went to Egypt to look at the situation, and I was for several weeks in Luxor too.
Oh.
I just come back at Friday.
Oh, just this past
No,
Friday.
it was Friday.
Can you introduce yourself so that?
I'm speaking, so I'm teacher from Zurich.
Oh,
Yes, I'm now changing my job, so I had some time to go
Oh, good.
to visit. I was wondering, because you see the situation you talked about, there are these different meanings, and I just wanted to ask you, the government, they tell all the time that this symbol is of your Muslim Brotherhood, they always tell about them as terrorists. And I went in Luxor, near the temple of Luxor, there was the Horrors Hotel was burned down. 2 Christian shops also burned, 3 houses burned. And they tell me it was the Muslims. Who was it really? Who did this?
Okay. That is a very good question.
Because that is frightening when you see this burnt houses in a house that you...
I just want to say it's not the symbol of Muslim brothers, it's a symbol of the protest of Egyptians from many, many different classes and different groups.
I saw a demonstration in Aswan with this flag, and they told me it was the Muslim brothers.
They told you.
Yes.
Let me clarify this question. This is a very important question. Egypt is a unique country. From the spiritual level, Moses was born and lived in Egypt. Jesus, peace be upon him, came to Egypt. Muhammad married an Egyptian. Abraham married an Egyptian. You know, Abraham was married to 2, Sarah and Hajar. Hajar is from Egypt. Egyptians have a history of being religious people, whether they're Christians, Jews, or Muslims. That is a fact about Egyptian. Any Egyptian, period, will always remember God when he or she drinks or whatever they do. They love to be closer to God. Now, for the past year, during Morsi, there were no church burnings, there were no hotel burnings. We were trying to build up tourism industry. I visited Germany 5 times to encourage tourists to come in Egypt. I am Luxor, that you found in a couple of places burning. It's my hometown. I represent the Luxor. I weep every time I say a place burning anywhere, not only in Luxor, anywhere in Egypt, but in fact anywhere in the world. In Egypt, we have a very good relationship with the Christian community. We've been living together for the past 1400 years. For 14 centuries, we were living together. What is the population of Switzerland?
About 8 million.
About 8 million. Do you know there are about 8 million Christians in Egypt? Almost the size of Switzerland. And they're our brothers and sisters. Whatever hurts them, hurts us. But the question is, but why are they burning? I tell you what, the government, the military government, the Coup government, and when they were trying to kill the people in Rab'a, they wanted to send the wrong message to Europe and to the Christian world, that we're doing this because we're fighting terrorism. And look at what they're doing, they're burning the churches. It was a game. It's divide and conquer. They would like to divide us, Muslims and Christians in Egypt, so that they can remain in control. I made it very clear. Anyone burns a church is burning my home. A church is a place for God to be worshipped. It's a crime. It's a crime against the history of Egypt, is against anyone who burns a church or burns a hotel or burns anything. But what is happening in Egypt? There is a lot of anger. It's a political problem. And so many forces are involved with, the Christians are involved with, and the Christian leadership made a big mistake by encouraging the coup to take place. And that's why you find young Egyptians are not happy with the stand of the leadership of the Egyptian church. Second, the police, and this happened in Minya. In Minya, there were more churches burned down. And the leadership of the police came after they accused the members of the Muslim Brotherhood. The police said they had nothing to do with this. This is done by thugs. Because there are thugs who would like to steal the church, who would like to cause problems between Muslims and Christians. You know, there was a church attack during a wedding just a few days ago.
I was in Cairo at that time.
You were in Cairo at that time. And what did they say? They said it is Muslim Brotherhood, right? Yeah.
No, but they not directly, but
indirectly. Yes. The leader of that church came out on TV and said Muslim Brotherhood have nothing to do with this. Not only that, he said there are 3 members of the Muslim Brotherhood who were in the wedding inside the church. And they are wounded and they are in the hospital. Sir, Islam teaches us to love, not to hate. Islam teaches us that Christians and Jews are our brothers and sisters. It's a fact that we've been living for centuries. Anyone hurts a Christian in Egypt or anywhere else is hurting all Muslims. And that should not be tolerated. Christians in Egypt have the same right as any other Egyptian. Any other Egyptian. They're equal citizens. And we have a very strong tradition. We would like to keep it together.
Ich möchte vielleicht ihn noch daran erinnern, im Dezember 2010, vor Weihnachten, bei der Weihnachtsfeier in einer Kirche in Ägypten, wurde auch eine Explosion, ist eine Explosion stattgefunden und ich glaube 7 Menschen sind dabei umgekommen und es war auch natürlich das Klischee, die militanten Moslems haben das gemacht, einige wurden verhaftet, einer von ihnen ist ein paar Tage später unter Folter gestorben und nach der Revolution hat man, also nach Januar 2011, hat man die Beweise gefunden, dass der Innenminister, der letzte Innenminister in der Zeit von Mubarak, zuständig dafür ist oder verantwortlich dafür ist. Er hat Leute angeheuert, diesen Angriff veranstaltet und eben um das Bild der Moslems generell und die oppositionellen muslimischen Gruppierungen natürlich in den Schmutz zu ziehen. Das ist Fakt, das ist ein Anklagepunkt gegen ihn. Er ist jetzt immer noch in Haft, vielleicht kommt er bald frei, aber das können Sie überall lesen. Man hat ihn angeklagt, diesen Angriff gestiftet zu haben und natürlich wurde er noch nicht verurteilt, aber das war ein Anklagepunkt, bis jetzt der Coup, der Putsch stattgefunden hat. Jetzt weiß niemand, wie das weitergeht, aber das ist auch ein Faktum, dass der Innenminister in der Zeit von Mubarak für diesen Angriff verantwortlich ist. أنا ذكرت بحادث كنيسة القديسين وأن وزير الخارجية الداخلية يعني ثبت أنه هو المسؤول عن ذلك.
في الحقيقة احنا أنا كمصريين أنا أتكلم بالعربي وبعدين ممكن أترجم أو أحمد يترجم بالألماني للإخوة اللي هنا. في الحقيقة احنا كمصريين عايشين هنا في سويسرا وفي غرب أوروبا عموما يعني عايشين الحرية وعايشين الديمقراطية ولذلك حزننا كبير جدا ويمكن أكبر من اللي ماتلوهم الناس في مصر لأن اللي ماتوا برضو تبعنا احنا يعني احنا حاسين بكل اللي حضرتك قلته بس طبعا الحزن ده مش كفاية. السؤال هنا ليه ما بتكونوش حكومة منفى لدعم الحراك الثوري داخل مصر؟ So, das auf Deutsch oder kann Ahmed übersetzen?
The gentleman is asking that as Egyptian, and all majority of Egyptians are very sad at what is happening in Egypt. He says we are happy to live here in Switzerland. We're enjoying democracy, we're enjoying freedom. we're free to express ourselves, we're free to attend any meeting we want. He says it hurts us to see people being killed in the streets of Egypt. And then he's proposing, why don't we form a government in exile? To answer him, I would like to answer you on two fronts. The first front was on the role of the Egyptian. Because you're an Egyptian living here, you're enjoying the freedom, you're enjoying the democracy, please do all you can to help your brothers and sisters in Egypt to enjoy the same freedom and the same democracy. Talk to anyone you can so that you can bring the freedom and democracy back. Talk to anyone. All Egyptians have a great responsibility to work against the coup government and to do all it can so that they can bring peace, democracy, and rule of law in Egypt. That's a must. Now, the government in exile. There are so many problems for having a government in exile. First, we don't have the resources. I am an elected member of the parliament. I'm not a millionaire. And to be able to form a government on exile, you need a lot of resources, especially financial resources. Second is you need lots of logistics to be able to have it. And we still believe that this is an Egyptian problem and it has to be solved within Egypt by Egyptians. So that's why we're resisting in the streets peacefully. We will continue resisting until Egyptians need to come to their senses and sit together in a room like this and come up with a political solution. There is no other solution than a political solution that is inclusive, that can include everyone, bring everyone on the table, and I think this is a way better alternative than having, I think, now, is a better alternative than having an exile government. Maybe an exile government can come as an idea later on, I don't know. No one knows, but it is very important that we keep the resistance to oppression so that we're hoping that political forces in Egypt will be able to come together and produce a political solution to the problem.
Yes, I have an addition in regards to the question of the gentleman about the Christians and the churches. There is a very important report coming from Amnesty International. It was directly after the masquerade of Raqqa and the burning of churches in Minya and Upper Egypt. And they say that the Islamists have nothing to do with this issue, and they suggest that the same old school of Mubarak back again to terrorize the Christians.
Thank you. It is a known policy, divide and conquer. Yes, please. Yes, please.
I would like to make an observation. We are talking about the killing and fighting against each other, and it is a fact over the years that in Europe, Islam or Muslim Brotherhood are synonymous with terrorism and all terrorists. So there are 8 million people in Zurich, in Switzerland, for instance, but maybe not even 8 women walk on the streets of the whole of Switzerland at one time in a burqa, but we have one canton which made a forbid the burqa. So this is the level of how things are viewed. You understand what I mean? We are not dealing with the real higher issues. And why is Europe not so silent on the question of a democracy and what is happening in Egypt? And my question to you, I would like to know how do you see it that Mubarak was kept all the time in power and he was toppled, Morsi was toppled because he's Muslim Brotherhood or whatever, and what does this all serve in the Middle East? where all these countries are being destabilized at a different level. People are looking for their families and their villages and peace, but they're not seeing higher up what is going on. Who is benefiting from this in your eyes?
Thank you.
Because on the one side, there is a state which is growing all the time, and this state just continues, and the others are just killing each other, and you cannot see really what's happening. How do you see the situation?
Yes. Thank you. Let me state the record clear. What is happening in Egypt, it is not people are killing each other. It is the military and the police is killing the people. That's a fact. And this place, Rab'a, was dispersed by the police and by the military, killed in 9 hours. They killed more than 1,000 between 1,000 and more than 1,000 persons just in 9 hours. So it is not really the people are using armed struggle in Egypt. People are still peaceful. People are still trying to bring out a political solution. Your question is very important. Who is benefiting? Who is benefiting from the suffering of people in Luxor and people in other places? I think I will answer theoretically, but if you want me to mention names, I will mention names. You want me to mention names?
Please.
Okay. On the theory, those who are against democracy, those dictators, those who support oppression, those who don't like freedom of Egyptians and freedom of Arabs, those who do not like Arabs to be working together for the betterment of all the people in the area, are the real enemies, are the ones who are benefiting the most. And because you want me to name names, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, those are dictatorships, and they do not want to see a successful democracy in Egypt. Israel is not happy with the democracy in Egypt. And some forces in the United States are not happy with seeing a democracy in Egypt. All these, some forces in Europe are not happy with a democracy in Egypt, a free Egypt, where Egyptians can rebuild their own country. When Egyptians who build the pyramids and the Sphinx can build another pyramid and another Sphinx, but this time will be pyramid for freedom and the Sphinx for justice. It is those are coming together with people who are inside Egypt, who are having relationships with all those I mentioned, and they're working together to suppress. You know, in all wars, there are those who benefit. There are those who sell arms. They benefit in their pocket. There are those who try to make war in certain places so they can sell more arms. And you know, so many wars, so many countries were fighting one another, and big powers were supporting the two countries so that they can make more money. I am very optimistic that those who love freedom will win at the end. You cannot oppress so many people for so long. Egyptians have tasted the taste of freedom. We used to stay until 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock a.m. in the streets of Egypt having a political discussion. Discussing what to do for Egypt for tomorrow and after tomorrow with all political forces. Those enemies do not want to see a successful democracy in Egypt, because a successful democracy will threaten their own interest. And that's a fact that we have to face it, but we would like to send a message to the world, and to those countries that I mentioned, that Egyptians care about Egypt's welfare. Egypt has nothing to intervene with any of the countries surrounding us. Egypt will always be working for freedom, for justice, and for the rule of law. This is our message to the world. It has nothing to do with the Muslim Brotherhood or non-Muslim Brotherhood. This is an Egyptian problem. And we would like to find an Egyptian solution. I would like you, when you visit us in Egypt, you will be able to walk safely, you will be able to visit. People do not bribe you or take bribes from you. We would like you to be able to see what Egyptians are doing so that you can enjoy your time in Egypt. And that is what we're working for. It's a long journey, and I would like to encourage Egyptians to have more patience. There is no easy solution. There is no quick fix. It's going to take some time. It's going to take some resources. It's going to take a lot of energy. And we need to continue, because the work you're doing now in Egypt and in other parts of the world, you're rebuilding a country. Rebuilding a country on the theoretical level, rebuilding a country in relationship to freedom, justice. And always keep these principles. Be free. Never accept oppression. Be fair to yourself and be fair to others. And always work for the rule of law. I personally, does not matter for me if the coming president in Egypt is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood or a member of the Christian church or any other Egyptian. What I care, I want that person to be fair. I want this person to implement justice. I want this person to respect the will of the Egyptian people, regardless of what is that will may be. Thank you.